Well, Razorback fans, we know the coaching search will just continue on. However, there is one particular individual that you still need to be mindful of. Robert Patrick Petrino. I'm going to tell you why on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday as we continue on with our coaching search talk, but we will get into some basketball because Razorback basketball does continue tonight in another game, trying to bounce back from Michigan State and that loss. Also going to talk about coaching contracts and how it may be changing in the way that it's done in college football, which is good, bad, and different, however it may be. But I wanted to start off today in talking about something that I know is either going to really excite some people or really upset some people. It's a pretty polarizing situation, a pretty polarizing topic, and it has to deal with Bobby Petrino. You almost like you forgot about him. And, we've been talking about James Franklin, been talking about other coaches that are in the mix, maybe a little bit more seriously than Bobby Petrino. But as yesterday, when there was a press conference with Bobby, it wasn't anything too crazy. There wasn't anything really said that was wild or anything like that. But I started sitting there and I'm like, man, this guy is still the coach for another 3 games. Like, he's still going to be the head coach for 3 more games. He's 0-4. The team is 0-4. Every one of those games have ended in a 1-possession loss, regardless of the opponent. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the fate of this weekend was the same thing. A 1-possession loss. And it wouldn't surprise me if it happened against Texas and against Missouri. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is for Arkansas. As I've always said, whatever team plays up here, Arkansas decides to play right here, just a little bit under. But I started thinking about what I said when Bobby Petrino took over as interim coach. A lot of people felt like this could be his proving ground to be the head coach. A lot of people wanted him to be named the head coach permanently anyways. Some were a little bit suspect and some didn't want it at all. But everybody was looking at it from the lens and from the perspective of, okay, well, if Bobby Petrino was going to get the job permanently moving forward, what was he going to have to do in his final 7 games? Because let's be honest, expecting him to go undefeated was a little bit much of a stretch. In fact, expecting this team to go out and win more than they lost, win 4 or more games was quite the feat. And then here we are, sitting there 4 games through, and you feel like you should have won at least 2, maybe even 3 of those. And how things would be different. But you didn't. Plain and simple. But the thing that I said was that Bobby would need to win at least 3 for me to get an idea about it, for me to feel good about giving him the job, for me to say that it was worth the conversation. And yet there's 3 games left. Now, don't get it twisted, folks. I don't expect Arkansas to win these final 3 games. I don't. In fact, I'm going to pick them to win or to lose all 3. It's just the way this season has been. But there is always that possibility, right? There's always that chance that it happens. And I started wondering to myself, because I've been kind of on the train of, hey, it's Bobby, I love you and wish it would have worked out, but I think Arkansas needs to go a different direction here. But then I'm also like, well, hold on a second. I said he had to win 3 and he still has 3 games left. There's still 3 chances to do this. So if, the biggest if, what if, just could not be more of a bigger if, Arkansas won these final 3 games against LSU, Texas, and Missouri, how would that make me feel about the coaching search, about Petrino, about everything? And to be honest, I don't know if I want that. It has nothing to do with wanting to lose, because that's not what I want. It has nothing to do with wanting to see Petrino be the coach or not be the coach. But you have to admit it could cause quite a pickle for the powers that be in that situation if Petrino wins these 3 games. Now, what you're hoping is that the board, the owners, the people that are actually involved in the coaching search, that they already got their guy, or at least they've got their guy as their target. And maybe they got the 1, the 2, the 3. And you don't really know where Petrino lines up on that list. However, I still feel like at this point where it stands now, he's got to be pretty low. But if he wins these 3 and you haven't hired a coach yet, you haven't hired a coach, you haven't, made any changes or anything, you haven't, maybe you've swung and missed on a few of your first and second choices. How do you not consider it? You know what I mean? It's a pretzel. It's a problem. It's something that makes me nervous, scared, confused. Because I don't know how I'm going to approach it. I don't know how you'll approach it. I don't know how anyone can approach this in a certain way. Like how can I justify it where it's at right now and just be like, oh, well, if Petrino wins these next 3, he's for sure the coach. Because then what if you're making significant strides on the other coach that you wanted? Well, you want to stick with that, right? But what if there's some things, there's some momentum, there's some stuff that's going on, and there's some push, and there's some inner fighting? What if some boosters want Petrino and the other boosters want this other guy? And then somebody else comes in, and then what if there's a leading the charge from somebody who wasn't a donor before, a big donor before, but they're willing to give if Petrino stays on as head coach? Or it's the opposite where, hey, this guy will be out if Petrino becomes head coach. We tend to forget that this is still there, kind of. It's not a realistic deal right now. Like Petrino, if the season was to end today, it would not even be in consideration. And I believe that even if he won the next 3 games, there's still a chance that he should not be in consideration. But how do you handle that? Because there are still some of you out there, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's still some of you out there that believe that Bobby Petrino should be the head coach right now, permanently. I don't agree, but you're welcome to your opinion. But it's like, how do I justify everything? How do I feel good about it one way or the other? I can't. I don't know how. I want this to work. No matter what. I want the best coach to get hired. But I don't want to be, as a fan, I don't want to be in the position to where at the end of the year, we're sitting here and Arkansas won 3 straight games to end the year, getting the boot back, getting a big win against Texas, and then finally getting the monkey off your back and beating Missouri and Drinkwitz at home. I don't want to be sitting here after Thanksgiving and just trying to wrap my head around what to do. Because you all, like some of you who are anti-Petrino, and that's fine, but you think it's as simple as just like, well, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Even if he goes 3-0 in these final 3 games, you can't do it. It's not that simple. You don't understand how many people are involved in this. Now, again, the odds of Arkansas doing that, slim to none. Shoot, the odds of him winning one of these games is slim to none. So it may not even be something that has to be considered or worried about or anything. But I'm just trying to prepare everybody for an understanding of that this is a very weird deal. This is a very weird situation to where even if you feel like, as we have the past couple of weeks, you're going towards this direction, going towards this guy, you're trying to put together things for this particular individual. And it seems like, at least gives the vibes of, there's going to be some administration changes involved with this too. Like all of that. And then in the background, you still got Bobby Petrino. The old fly in the ointment. The old pain in the rear end. Ends up winning a few games here, especially to end the year. What do you do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. No one's going to listen to me, but I'll tell you what you do. What you do is that you need to make it painfully clear. You don't have to do it publicly, but painfully clear to Petrino if he is in the running or if he's not. If he is not in the running, don't toy with him. Don't tease him. Don't do any of that. Tell him straight up, Coach, we appreciate it, but just to let you know, we're going to go a different direction. Oh, but John, that would make him mail it in. And sorry. Sometimes you just got to make those sacrifices. You need to be honest with him. But if you truly think he is in the running, then continue to talk with him. Continue to deal with it. Continue to see how it goes. But it just needs to be very set. If you have a guy, because you knowing that there is that risk, if you have a guy in the mix, if you have a couple of guys in the mix, if these are the ones you want, don't wait, don't hesitate, don't mess around, don't even entertain anything else. Cut out one of those elements, just be like, hey, there's no chance of this happening, so let's move forward. And maybe that's already happened, for all I know. But don't draw it out. Don't give hope. Don't give false hope to anybody, especially somebody like Petrino. Don't do that. If he's in the mix, truly let him know. If he's not, truly let him know. Move on. And then that way we don't have to worry about any of those things happening. I have a lot of admiration for Bobby Petrino. But I'm sure he would rather know the truth and know what his situation is more so than anything. Just saying. We're going to talk about this basketball team, though. What I want to see from them tonight, because they got to bounce back. We'll get to that and more. So stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, we know that college football is in full swing, as well as college basketball. It's fully back, and we couldn't be more excited about it. With all of the tailgates going on in football and basketball, got the rivalries, energy in the stands. Bud Walton Arena is going to be back at it. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. But that's why I use the GameTime app. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. So for those you may be trying to get to the Razorback game tonight, there you go. You can use the GameTime app. Anytime you pull it up, just a couple of taps. See amazing deals. Your favorite college games, your favorite college football, college basketball games, as low as $25. It's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than any way that you'll ever buy tickets, guaranteed. So take the guesswork out of buying college football or basketball tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download GameTime today. Okay, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Razorback basketball comes back into the mix, gets back after it tonight against UCA. How about that, huh? A little in-state action. We talked about the game yesterday on the podcast against Michigan State and how frustrating it was. But here you go. You have a few more games before your next big matchup against Duke. Now, these are not and don't need to be viewed as just gimme games and nonsensical. There's no reason in playing them and just blow through them and all that. Like, doesn't need to be looked at that way. But you should take care of business easily. You should take care of business easily. Arkansas still has a lot of season left in front of them. But I'm hoping that they can utilize and use what they did against Michigan State and put together a nice little run here of getting humbled, but being able to come together once again and work hard towards something. Learn from the mistakes that they made. We talked about Michigan State and the mistakes. The freshmen made some freshman mistakes. The foul trouble that was had. Trevin Brazil getting in early foul trouble. Anything about Carter Knox was not it. Just seemed all out of sorts there when he was playing up in Michigan State. Had too many turnovers, and after dealing with his injured toe. There's just things like that you want to see happen and bounce back from. Now, it's as simple as it is to just sit here and say, well, I want to see this player do this amount of stats, and I want to see this and this. Here's the simply put way of looking at it, at least from my perspective, folks. What I want to see is you dominate all these teams because you are better. You are far and away better. And when you play even your B+ game, you should beat all these teams by double digits easily. Should. I want to see a pissed off Razorback team after losing a game to Michigan State. Sure, there's no shame in it, but you need to act like there is. And you don't need to utilize it in a way of, oh, poor pitiful me, or oh, we stink, or oh, this isn't as fun anymore. No, you need to utilize it to where you're really mad about it and you're never going to let it happen again. That's the perspective that it needs to be used as. I want to see the aggressiveness in check, but the aggressiveness of this team really showing out. I want to see him do the whole run it up, Herman, leave no doubt against UCA tonight. I want to see them not only beat the brakes off of them, but everybody get involved. I want to see, of course, the freshmen doing their thing. I want to see Trevin Brazil going out for his double-double again. I want to see Billy Richmond just dunking on people like crazy and causing some chaos. I want to see DJ Wagner hitting some big threes. I want to see Carter Knox getting back into the mix and feeling more comfortable into a certain role. I want to see the bigs absolutely feast. Talking about Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan. I want to see y'all do some stuff down there. I want to see each and every one of these players, whenever they get out on the court, to make the most of their minutes and make sure that there is no doubt that they are better in every aspect of the game against all these opponents. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, well, duh, John. That should be the mentality every game. And you're right. It should be. But it's always, to me, fascinating to see how teams handle adversity. Early adversity, midpoint adversity, late adversity. Because you're going to go through it in all phases. Early adversity is because, listen, it's easy to feel good and strong and awesome when you're flying high out of the gates and you've won some decent games and you're a top 25 team. But what happens when you get punched in the mouth and you lose? How do you handle that first bit of it? The midseason is always going to happen when it comes to that adversity. You're going to hit a little bit of a slump. The season's kind of droning on. And, how do you utilize that? And how long does it last? Do you turn it around really quickly? It's like, is that what you do? And then, of course, at the end of the year, later in the season, when you get to the tournament, when it's all that matters, when it's the only thing that matters of you getting to that next point, how do you handle it? That's the key, isn't it? That's the key. Well, this is going to be the first test. How do you handle the adversity? And not only just as a team, but as individuals. Like, the Trevin Brazil thing. He, of course, had the towel gates stuff, which was so stupid that it became a thing. But, he didn't play well and had that. So how does he handle it? How does Carter Knox handle a guy who was that dude a year ago, but trying to find his role back in the team and dealing with his injury? How does he follow up that performance against Michigan State? How do these freshmen continue to develop and learn from their mistakes? Do they press too hard to try to overcome it, or do they ease into it and play smarter about it? Because let's be honest, with Calipari as your coach, he's never going to allow any nonsense, any person to go out there and play poorly or press too hard, because they'll yank them and then they'll put somebody else in. They have the numbers, they have the depth, they have the ability to do it. I just want to see a team that comes out tonight and against UCA, no disrespect, but it comes out against UCA and absolutely dominates them in every facet of the game. Offense, defense, layups, three-point shooting, free throw shooting, fouls, defense, block shots, steals, rebounds. I want to see that box score at the end of the game. It's nothing but Arkansas. That's what I want to see. Be pissed, but not too pissed. Take care of business. Bounce back. And let everybody know that the team we saw against Michigan State was more the exception than it was the rule. we're going to get into some contract talk because I think it's interesting how things have changed in college sports in general. But stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. We know the NBA is back, college basketball is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game so much more exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This is not anything new. I don't think anyone's really heard or thought much about. Maybe they have. But dealing with contracts and coaches' contracts, how ridiculous that they've always been when it comes to the buyouts and to the salaries and everything. And I saw the deal where Brian Kelly is owed somewhere in like $50 million for his buyout. But apparently LSU was trying to settle and trying to cut it and trying to, make it less than what the actual amount was. And he ain't doing it. And he once says, pay me my money. And apparently they have some ongoing negotiations there and all that. Well, first off, I don't like Brian Kelly. I've made it very clear I don't like Brian Kelly. But if I'm Brian Kelly, I am 100% saying pay me my full money. You shouldn't. If you didn't want me to, you shouldn't have fired me. But since you signed that contract too, and just because you fired your AD doesn't mean you're not liable for it. So there it is. Kind of gives the vibes, doesn't it, of Brett Bielema when Arkansas fired him and then fired Jeff Long, and they owed him some money and they were trying to figure out a way to get out of it. Maybe there's some sort of precedent on there or something. But either way, I don't blame the coaches for saying I want all my money. But it does make you wonder because of that buyout, because of the James Franklin buyout, because of the buyout with Hugh Freeze, buyout with Billy Napier. There's other coaches in the mix that have been talked about as far as being major buyouts. It's getting out of control, and it has been for a long time. But it does make me wonder with the amount of coaches that have been fired and a lot of these big jobs opening up, are we going to start seeing a shift in contracts? Are we going to start seeing a shift from going from paying out all this insane money whenever a coach gets fired to scaling that back and spreading it out some other way, making it more incentive-based? Probably not. It's probably not going to work. This is one thing that I actually felt like Hunter Yurchek was on to something with, although I think that, in the way that it was approached wasn't necessarily correct. I think every school, every AD would like to have it to where, firing a coach because of losing it should be cause. You shouldn't happen to pay these coaches all this amount of money if they lose. Well, then you shouldn't agree to the contract. That's how I feel. But there's got to be something that gives, especially with the uncertainty of all this financial chaos that's going on in college athletics and the NIL and all of that. But there's got to be some way to solve it. There's got to be some way to figure this out and make it all work for everybody. And now that there's so many openings and there's so many coaches looking for jobs and looking for gigs, I just wonder if that's going to be something that scales back a little bit. Like if Brian Kelly gets another job at some other major school, are they going to give him a $30 million buyout? Or James Franklin or a Hugh Freeze? Are any of these coaches that got fired, are they going to get to a new school and they're going to be owed a crazy buyout if they get fired at that new school? I don't know. I don't even know if anyone will sign that contract. Maybe not for the fired coaches, but then, you see like Signetti over at Indiana who has like some stupid buyout, crazy buyout. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. But it would be nice to see some of the contracts adjusted. It would be nice to see some of these schools not be on the hook for so much money if coaches lose. But at the same time, if you sign that dotted line and you agree to it, you got to do it. You got to pay it. Sorry, not sorry, but it's just the way it is. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, John Nabors Show, for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.